Hey, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast.
I'm Brenda J.
And I'm Karen Wonder.
And we are hangingontohope.org.
This podcast is intended as educational and is not psychological or medical advice. Always consult a professional when needed, and we disclaim any liability in connection with the instruction, information, or advice given.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hanging On to Hope podcast. This is Brenda J. Today, we are so honored to welcome to the show Teresa Hayes. Teresa is a founder and executive director of the nonprofit called Unfinished Grace. She's also part of our nonprofit prayer group, and we've known Teresa for years, even when the vision for Unfinished Grace was just beginning to stir in her heart. It has been so incredible to watch God bring that vision into fruition and see it unfolding right before our eyes. Teresa holds certifications in TRLC and CLC, and through Unfinished Grace, she offers coaching services, unplanned pregnancy support, mentoring, healing groups, retreats, and resources designed to help women move forward in God's grace and purpose. Her heart is to help women build healthy rhythms and habits, overcome obstacles, navigate difficult transitions, and step from endings into new beginnings. And do you want to tell us what TRLC and CLC are? I'm just curious.
The TRLC is the Trauma Resilience Life Coaching, and that's through the Arizona Trauma Institute. The one that's Dr. Is it Rotel or through Singh Hoon? Through his organization. And the CLC is a certified Christian life coach, and that was through CMI, which I was connected through Venture 19 with.
Okay.
We absolutely love the mission behind Unfinished Grace, and I love the name Unfinished Grace too. The heart of this ministry is to support women who have experienced brokenness of any kind and help them fulfill their God-given purpose regardless of their past. Unfinished Grace serves women who may feel hopeless, unworthy, or stuck in shame from past trauma, abuse, unhealthy lifestyles, difficult choices, or even involvement with addiction. Their mission is truly helping women move from gracefully broken to gracefully restored, and we think that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start by sharing a little bit about your story and what led you to starting Unfinished Grace?
Let me thank both of you ladies for inviting me on, and I'm happy that it's finally happening.
Yes.
My story, I'm going to take a little time with it because that's one of the major things about Unfinished Grace is talking about your story, accepting your story, and how to heal from your story, and then how do you turn around and use it for your family, if it's a mom to their kids, or if it's just another woman to another woman. So my story starts with, I would say it's trauma and drama. And I have one of those unique gifts that if it's going to happen to someone, it's going to be me. So through my years of healing and learning about trauma and/or the strongholds from a spiritual aspect, I've learned that generational insecurity has been passed down to me from a very early age. So I've always felt insecure, unworthy, and always had a lack of confidence. But I never understood it, and I also despised it. My childhood, I grew up in a Christian home with parents who loved us and also parented the best they could. Knowing now what I know, they, like everyone else, had their own past and were navigating marriage and family the best they could with what they were taught. And I think any kid doesn't really see any dysfunction in their own family because it's all we know, because that's all we grew up. We attended church 3 times a week and participated in all the activities. But back in those days, it was more fear-based, and we weren't taught the importance of how to even really have a true relationship with God, what that was and how to do it. Nor were we taught, or also probably from some of my built-in insecurities, that's where I started the pattern and thought I had to earn acceptance from both in family, friends, and with God. So doing good works and people-pleasing became part of my story and part of me at a very young age. I was also taught that my opinions didn't matter at a very young age too, thus I lost my voice. And also people pleasing does that too.
Mhm.
My downward spiral really started around the age of 14 when I faced my first unplanned pregnancy. I was struggling. I was fighting with my parents about going to church, didn't want to, starting to hang out with the wrong crowd. So my parents wanted me to get more involved with church. So being the overachiever that I am, I did that. I did just that. I got involved in a relationship with an older boy in the church and got pregnant the first time ever having sex. So talk about your 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
And to keep my story short, because each of my experiences you could probably dive into even deeper. And that's also why I wanted to take some time telling my story, is because Unfinished Grace doesn't particularly cater to one type of woman. It's whatever they're going through, because God has blessed me with different experiences. So I can relate to a lot of women in a lot of different ways. So with going back to my pregnancy, my first pregnancy, God used me in that experience to bless a couple that couldn't have a child. And so adoption was the choice at that time. But this experience rocked my world and changed me in ways I never imagined or even knew how to process, because I was only 14. It was just overwhelming. It was overwhelming feelings. It was overwhelming decisions that no 14-year-old should need to be making. So shame became front and center and pushed my existence and self-worth even deeper into the black hole that I was in. And this is around the time that I fully walked away from God. And from this deep shame, my heart hardened and I became very critical and cynical of everything and everyone. I lived through my teen years as normal as I could, had friends, went out, and I did things, yet carried and suppressed shame and lack of self-worth, but that all came out in destructive behaviors. Now that I look back, I'm very thankful that my parents did not ship me off somewhere, did not end my life. I probably aged my parents.
I think I did too, yeah.
Quicker than they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And also in this time, I'm originally from Arizona, but at this time in my life, my family and I were living in Wisconsin. And I've been back in Arizona for about almost 25 years now. And I always say that the Wisconsin Teresa and the now Teresa are two totally separate people. And I would not want to go back to that person. I wouldn't even want to be friends with that person. So all this led to unhealthy relationships with boys, giving myself away in various ways of thinking I wasn't worthy of anything else or even worthy of having a good boyfriend. So I always seemed to choose or navigate towards the bad boy, you would say, which led me to getting pregnant again at the age of 16. This time adoption was going to be our original choice. However, it was about 6 weeks early. I ended up having an emergency C-section. And the doctors told me and my parents that he didn't know how long that my son was without oxygen. So they could not determine if there was any mental or physical effects from that. So it was interesting. I was in the hospital for a few days. My son was in the hospital for about a month. But while I was in the hospital, both me and my mom said separately to the nurse, we just feel that we want to keep him. We don't know how this is going to work, but we want to keep him. So finally, I think the nurse finally just said, the two of you need to talk. And so we chose, with my parents and I, we chose to keep him. My mom graciously quit her job so she could watch him during the day so I could finish school. So I attended high school and graduated on time. But through all that, this experience was just another form of, or relationship and everything was a form of rejection. And yet another teen pregnancy just heaped more disgust onto myself. And I continued to spiral, leading into more poor choices and eventually another relationship with an abusive alcoholic. not fully knowing what I was getting into, but yet I felt that's what I deserved. And so we ended up moving in together. We had another child together. We got married. So by the age of 21, I had 3 kids, and also I was married. Up until this time, I only knew or thought about abuse that was physical. And that was one of the things that my first husband, that was his story. And he always said that he would never want to repeat that. But if you're not taught how to not do that, that's your automatic thing. But also with physical or with abuse, there's physical, but there's also mental and verbal and emotional. And those took more of a toll on me than any physical abuse that was done to me or the boys. So looking back, this is also where I started I think my poor coping mechanisms even started before that. But with my first husband, which like I mentioned before, he had his own struggles and past hurts and abuses that neither of us understood or knew how to fix. We were together for 7 years. It ended when he took his own life. He was 27 and I was 25. And without knowing what was going on that day, I witnessed his death by hearing it happen. Thank God he did not allow for me to actually see it or have to be the one to confirm it. I thank God for his best friend that day, because he's the one that I was able to call, and he was just happened to be in the neighborhood, came over, and that's how everything started. He went and confirmed, and everything blew up that night. And what happened next and what happened through the funeral and after the funeral, I would never wish on my worst enemy. It's hard for me to even describe. One, I was in a fog because it rocks your world that you have instant death, and also then realizing that you're alone. You're now a single parent with 2 small kids. I always say death brings out the worst and the best in people. And unfortunately, I had quite a bit of the worst come against me. So getting through that, and so just imagine not having God in my life at that time, I think made it even worse, even though I know he was watching over me the whole time, even ever since I walked away. And once again, I have to thank my parents, because I know it's their prayers that kept us as safe as we could be, and also that we were still intact. But how Satan uses this to heap even more shame, guilt, and lies into my head, into my heart, was just enormous. After the death of my first husband, I fought with God for 3 years to not come back to Arizona, because by that time, all my family had moved back to Arizona. I was technically there alone. I had what I call a Wisconsin family, but it wasn't, your blood family. And so my parents invited us back, and I knew that coming back to Arizona, I just knew that it meant that I had to start following God again. And I wasn't ready. Even though my life was in an upheaval, it was still decent. And I wasn't ready to fully surrender to him. So I stayed there for another 3 years, wrestled with God, and then finally made the decision to come back to Arizona, which then that's where I rededicated my life and started working on healing. But what I found was that even though I rededicated my life, it didn't instantly take away all the damage and trauma and what it did to my body and what it did to my soul and mind had to be put into place over the years as in survival mode. I didn't even know what survival mode was till I started counseling out here. And she had to explain it to me. She had to explain to me what the different types of abuse are. And I wanted and expected Jesus to be my easy fix, but he's not a quick fix, but he's also the answer. And he's about restoring, not quick fixing. So in 2005, this began my healing journey, starting with counseling and being introduced to Mending the Soul. And I know you guys are well aware of Mending the Soul. And
Yes.
you've had both Steve and Celesta on your show. So that's where my healing journey started. And I've been on that journey. And I always tell people that you'll be in many journeys. We'll have our healing journeys until the day God takes us home.
Yeah.
But like I said, even though it's been almost 20 years of healing, life still isn't perfect. It's not all roses and sunshines. It's been valleys and mountaintops, but they've led me to where I am today. So after working with women in many different capacities, I saw a gap in care. Many find help in escaping the crisis that they're in, but few find ongoing support for true healing. Most churches aren't equipped to offer the long-term or personalized guidance women need to rebuild. So that's where Unfinished Grace was a vision that God gave me many years ago to walk along women beyond survival and offering them grace-filled support as they pursue restoration and purpose.
That's wonderful.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that
Yeah, thank you
story.
for sharing that. I'm so sorry for all you've been through, but I love how God is using it now.
Yes.
And that you can really speak into the lives of so many women and girls.
Yeah, I just feel God's presence when you were telling your story.
Yeah.
It was a powerful, powerful story.
And I'm a fellow, healing from people pleasing myself. So
I'm people pleaser too.
yeah, it's real. It's still
Yes, it
a
is.
struggle. It's one of those things. So you talk a lot about helping women move from brokenness into healing and restoration through God's grace. Can you share more about the heart behind the ministry and what that journey looks like for the women you serve?
Yeah. As I briefly mentioned in my story, I've experienced and witnessed a lot of different hurts, abuses, and traumas. The things that I've been through and the experiences that I witnessed others go through, I asked God one day why. Why have I gone through these things? Why have I seen the dark side of church and with other organizations? And he told me that it's so I would know how to connect with others and what they were experiencing, and then be able to support them in walking through it and healing them through it. I mentioned also earlier in my story that I became very bitter and hard. As I walked through my healing journey and God softening my heart, I started experiencing God's love and mercy for myself. I started having a heart and discernment for others.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that discernment was a spiritual gift, and that if I allow God, he lets me see other people through his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at somebody, and if I'm in the right space and if I'm in the right posture with God, I can see the hurt without them even having to say a word.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I feel, one of the reasons why, and I've always also wondered why people are attracted to me. And when I meet them, they just start telling me their story, no matter where I'm at. It's like cashiers. It's, just people just like to tell me their stories. And so that's testimony to my healing, and then letting God work through me to help others heal. The other thing that I've asked God is I used to get, and every once in a while I still get mad at God for saying, why me again? Why do I have to go through this difficult thing? But the other thing was, in all my experiences, I always felt alone. And I never want another woman to feel that they have to walk through their experience alone, or even their healing alone. So that's the other reason why, or heart behind Unfinished Grace, is I just want women to know that they are not alone.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because I think I know I felt that way too. And so that's just huge to have someone know that they aren't and that they're not crazy, and just to give them that validation.
I was totally alone. And then I met Karen. If I wouldn't have went to Mending the Soul, I didn't have any friends by the time I got, he controlled everything I did.
That's exactly.
So she, in a way, that Mending the Soul group that Jenny set up and meeting Karen, it helped so much. I don't think I would even be I wouldn't be here right now, but I don't think I would have healed at all if I didn't.
And a lot of people don't understand that whenever you are in an abusive relationship, just what that person does to have control,
Mhm.
what they take away
Yeah.
from the other person, and besides what's done to them, what they also take away. And that's friends, that's anybody that could intimidate them or feel,
Mhm.
or that they feel intimidated by.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I had friends at work. All I did was work, and they were all
Mhm.
kind of far away. So when I got him out, I didn't have any friends in my area.
Yeah.
So Karen got stuck with me.
No, I don't see it that way.
I just think it's funny. Okay, so what type of coaching services do you offer through Unfinished Grace?
So the one-on-one coaching covers a wide range. It can be as simple as somebody saying, I have a goal and I don't know how to get there. I have an issue going on that I don't know why I do what I do. Or a behavior that I don't know what I do or why I do it. Or anything that where they need advice, they need guidance or accountability to get them to where they want to be. It can be spiritual healing or wanting to learn or hone even like leadership skills, basically anything where someone just doesn't know where to start. That's where one-on-one comes in. I help identify the need and come up with a plan with them and the resources that are needed. And if I am able to help them, we start that journey. If I'm not able to help them, then I refer to the other resources that I have that would be a better fit for them.
Okay, so that's good. So just you'll work it out. Like, cause if, like, would you say sometimes they might need therapy first or counseling first in addition to your coaching? Something
Yes.
like that. Okay. Cause
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my mind, I have several people that might be a good start, have them talk to you and then you can, cause I've been trying to get them to go to therapy and they say they're going to go and then they just don't ever do it.
Mhm.
So maybe that would be a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therapy can be very scary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even if it's just putting their toe in the water,
Mhm.
that's the start.
Yeah. Plus, it's expensive in this economy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not everyone can afford it. So we noticed that your ministry also offers support for women facing unplanned pregnancies. Can you share more about how your nonprofit helps women during those difficult and overwhelming seasons?
So I have the 3 unplanned pregnancies with 3 different experiences, yet I felt so alone again, a common theme throughout each one. So no matter at what age a woman is faced with an unplanned pregnancy, it can be difficult to navigate if you don't have the support and the resources needed, especially in today's world where abortion has become the so-called quick fix. And for many, it's told to them that that is the best option without actually giving any other options, or the world has distorted reality of the worth of a human life that's growing inside them. So it may be unplanned to them, but it's not unplanned to God. And God has a plan for them because He created the mama and He created that baby that's in her. So helping them support girls or women facing that unplanned pregnancy without judgment to help them make the right decision for her and the baby and know that life isn't over. It's just I call it a major plot twist in their story. And one of the future visions of Unfinished Grace is to eventually have housing, but having more than just a maternity home, having a program where it's at least 18 plus months to support the women from the crisis mode to a thriving family. Until then, I partner with pregnancy centers and adoption centers and other organizations and churches to just be that extra arm of support for women that they have in their either congregation or organization that is facing an unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah, I had someone this year that reached out to me and I referred them to somebody. I didn't know you did this. So at least I know that you're there to talk them through it. And that's great.
Yeah.
And thank you for what you do. That's important. So you also mentioned collaborations as part of your ministry. What type of collaborations and partnerships do you work with to support women in their healing journeys? And you just kind of talked about the pregnancy one, but are there any other collaborations?
Since Unfinished Grace is, like I mentioned earlier or before, that God hasn't given me a specific group of women to help. So in all women. So if it's an organization that does sex trafficking or that, helps rescue sex traffic, coming alongside that organization and helping being a resource for the healing process with them as they're helping them through the crisis, an extra arm that can give them support either with one-on-one meeting with them or helping them go through a healing. I have curriculum that's based on a book called Invisible Bond. And so it's kind of like amending the soul, but for kind of healing through your sexual past. And if that type of organization also wants to go through that Princess Lost a curriculum with through mending the soul, that's the type of stuff. And anything that there's an organization that I was going to start helping with where they help women coming out of homelessness. So just being an extra resource for any type of organization, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be, just anywhere where women or organizations need the extra love to support their women. That's where, and also churches too. Like I mentioned, a lot of churches don't have a full trauma or even community outreach. And so I can come in and help be that kind of a resource for them.
That's great.
Well, I'm going to let Jessica know. God is good. We still have a couple more issues we have to get past. But that's good to know that you're there to help with that because I'm like, I can't help with that. That's what I was thinking in my mind.
And so also with that, one of the things is like with Unfinished Grace, even though I don't have my housing yet, another way that I want to help organizations is collecting or having people donate the needs for women, the feminine needs for them to take care of themselves. Like if they're, the cleaning supplies, the personal supplies, all that type of little supplies that most people don't think about, but yet are so needed. And so that's where also I want Unfinished Grace to come along, these bigger organizations, like the Save Houses any donations that I get at this time, I know that I can either take them there or I can take them to another partnering house that is already working and housing, women face unplanned pregnancies. So
that's great.
One thing we really love about Unfinished Grace is that it's faith-based and centered on God's grace and healing. Your vision says that Unfinished Grace extends beyond coaching and mentoring and is committed to helping women discover God's grace, love, and healing in their lives. Can you talk more about the spiritual side of healing and why that's such an important part of what you do? That's huge, for sure.
We are all created for.
To be continued. Stay tuned for next week's part 2. You don't want to miss it.
Thanks for tuning in to Hanging On to Hope. Check out our website, hangingontohope.org. There are resources on there, and if you would like to donate or volunteer, you can do that through our website. We are a brand new nonprofit, so we appreciate any and all support. And we thank you for listening, and until next time, keep hanging on to hope. We are evidence that there is hope and healing for you, and our passion is to help you find it too. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.